Hello, hello. Welcome to Voices of the Festival. I hope you're doing well. I'm saying hello today from Tokyo, Japan. It's it's late here. It's almost midnight. It's 11 p.m. But it is 10 a.m. in Savannah. And here is Maryanne waving to me, and I'm going to invite her to join. She's a pro. She invited me instead of me inviting her. Uh, so we connect really quick. I hope you guys are doing well. We are heading to the festival really soon, in 3 weeks. Hello, Maryanne.
Hello there. How are you?
Good, good. See, it was easy.
Yeah, not so bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's always a little fearful because it's such a new thing, and sometimes it's hard to. And unfortunately, we can never rehearse the getting into it, but here we are.
Yeah, good.
Where are you today?
I'm in Sarasota, Florida, which is where our permanent home is.
So you moved from you used to be in Ann Arbor, but
yeah, Steve is still in Ann Arbor one more year. Right now my husband, Stephen Lussman, is upstate New York, but I'm down here with the cat and hoping for no hurricanes.
is it hurricane season now?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. She was a hurricane. Look at that, actually. Who is that? He was a hurricane. Anyway, oh, that's better. Yeah, now I can see the whole face. So Sarasota, beautiful. Weather is okay today so far. No hurricane.
Very hot and humid. You expect it this time of year, but it's better than the ice and snow up north in the winter.
Definitely, right? Definitely. Although you're there now year long, right?
Yes. So I retired at the end of last year, okay. And I'm here full time now. Okay. I go back, and Steve comes back and forth. I go back and forth to Ann Arbor, but basically this is our full-time residence now.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think we crossed in Ann Arbor. I mean, we never met there, but we were in the same town. Very short time. I think I moved out right when Steven started the position in Ann Arbor. So quite a bit ago. We're not going to say the years, but that's okay. Good. So, and where are you from originally?
Princeton, New Jersey.
Okay. Yeah. Did you grow up there, or were you born there?
Yes. So I am second generation Italian American, and all of my grandparents came over, and at that time there was a little community in Princeton on the outskirts of the town. They called it Little Italy, and those people, they were stonemasons and landscapers, and they worked at the university, on the grounds of the university, helped building the buildings, and so our little community, a couple of streets there, was all Italian Americans. So we all knew each other. We were all at each other's homes, and godmothers and cousins, and you could walk to everybody's house. It was a kind of a idyllic childhood.
Fun. And Telese is spelled with an E at the end. Is that the original spelling?
Telese?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was never. So there's actually a town south and east of Rome that is Telese, not Telese, but if you go to ancient history, I think it was derived from the Telese of ancient times, but yes, so Telese that was the way it was always spelled.
Right. Because there are not that many last Italian names with an E. There are, but of course the majority is either I or O.
Right.
And it's fun to have an E at the end. Yeah. Good. Did you were you able to trace your roots in Italy? I mean, you said that the town is near Rome, but do you have still family there? Were you able to find?
There are Teleses on the island of Ischia. And several years ago, Stephen and I went to sing. And then we took a little trip and we went to the town of Telese, and then we went to the island of Ischia. And actually, so there were two brothers. My grandfather and his brother owned a lot of land on the island of Ischia. At that time, they would rent it out to tenant farmers, you know, and it was, everybody was poor. So my grandfather chose to come to America to seek his fortune, and the other brother stayed there and took over the land and the tenants and all of that. And that branch of the family became very, very wealthy, as you can imagine. So there were, you know, hotels and spas and vineyards, and those people are still there. Some of the sons became lawyers and went into politics. So the summer that we visited, there was a Pietro who was the mayor of Porto d'Ischia, and we went there, but he was on holiday, so we couldn't meet him. But yeah, they're there.
So yeah, actually that's good. That I'm sure you have a lot of family, even if you haven't met them. But you know for sure that half of those Telese in Ischia are your cousins somehow. Yes,
for sure.
And in any case, just to do a research in Ischia is not a bad thing.
No, I'm going to try to move this down a little bit. 1 sec. Too many books.
I know, you had to see the concoction I made here in the hotel with tissue boxes and I don't know what else, all kind of boxes, you know, just to make it the perfect height.
Right height. Yeah.
There we are. And so you grew up in Princeton. What's your awakening to music and opera?
So my sister played the piano. She was, this is kind of a long story, but she was born with one eye that wasn't strong. So the doctor suggested she learn how to read music. There were no musicians in my family. So she learned how to play the piano. Actually, she became quite proficient. And she's 10 years older. So she would play the piano and I would listen and I would dance around. And when I was 8 years old, I asked my parents if I could take voice lessons. So I took piano lessons and voice lessons from the same teacher. I joined the church choir. I began to win little competitions in the area. Went to Catholic all-girl academy convent school, and they had a very strong music department. Sister Parente did a big show every May to raise money for the school, and I played four-hand piano and I sang, and then it just kind of spiraled, and my teacher there, a nun, Sister Helen Bruno, suggested that I apply to Oberlin. So that's how I applied. I went to New York. My father drove me. I did an audition. I went to Oberlin. I got my undergrad. I got my master's there. And then right after Oberlin, I was hired by the Texas Opera Theater to do leading roles in their touring company. And so that's how my career began.
Fantastic. How did you, at such a young age, decide to sing?
So church, I loved it. My mother said I was the loudest kid on the block. So I always had a very strong voice and little body, big voice. And just loved singing in church choir. I sang, solos in the school plays and like that. And I loved it. I loved being on the stage and make believe. And I was very moved by music. It was an escape of sorts, and when I think back to the kind of the seeds of it, I didn't know anything about opera particularly. And this nun that I was telling you about, Sister Helen Bruno, took several of us to Philadelphia to see La Boheme. And I remember just being it was magical. It took me away. I mean, it moved me so much. And I remember getting the score. It was my first score, La Boheme. And I still have
how old were you then when you did that trip?
that 16,
Okay.
15, 16. There was also a teen choir group in Trenton, New Jersey. And the man who ran that did little vignettes or little bits of opera. So I got to do Papagena. You know, this is before I went to college. This was high school. Let's see what else. A Marriage of Figaro scene. So yeah, I mean, it was very early on that I got a taste of what opera would be for me.
What I was surprised is that you at 8 years old decided without I mean, you apparently no one else decided that you wanted to take voice lessons. How do you know that there's such thing existed?
I went to church and I heard the ladies sing, and there was this one soprano who had this big, beautiful voice that sang at you know, midnight mass, and I thought, oh, I want to do that.
Fun. And you were already studying piano by then?
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. And so you went to Oberlin?
Yes.
For grad or?
Yep. And then started working professionally immediately. So I graduated in May, and that fall, I think it was November, end of November, started doing the Texas Opera Theater. I think the first thing was El Capitan and The Medium or something like that. Right. And we traveled all over by bus and truck through the South. And, you know, you do little performances for kids in school auditoriums, and then you do maybe 4 performances a week or 5 performances a week. It was a great way to learn the craft.
I know, that's great. What is this Texas Opera Theater? I didn't know about it.
Grand Opera. All of this is before your time. All of the big companies had touring companies. So in order to get their grants, they had to go out into the community. And these little satellite companies, you know, they were funded by Houston Grand Opera or San Francisco Opera, and then they would go out and perform in the communities. Take opera to the people.
Oh, that's great. And so these belong, you say, to Houston?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so we're telling all our audiences that you are coming to Savannah to direct Madame Butterfly, which you sang more than anyone I know. So, and what other repertoire did you started doing in the Texas Opera Theater?
So early on, I had a lyric soprano voice. Hadn't gotten as warm and big as it did later in my career. So I did Marriage of Figaro. I did Daughter of the Regiment. I did Juliet. I wasn't a coloratura soprano, but I could move my voice well, and I had a very good extended top. So, you know, let me think. In those days, what I did. Oh, I did a new production of Hansel and Gretel. It first was produced in an outdoor theater by the Houston Grand Opera, so brand new. And then later on, they brought it into the house, into the main house. So Gretel. Let me think. In my early days, Don Pasquale. But all along in the beginning, I also was doing things like Mimi. My very first Butterfly, I covered when I was 24 and then performed when I was 27. That's very young. But my voice had a warmth and a size that I could do it. You know, I could be heard over orchestra. And so all along I was doing roles like that. Then Nedda, Liu, let me think. God, so many things. So many. A lot of Puccini.
Your first Butterfly?
Say again?
Where was your first butterfly?
Lake George Opera Festival.
Oh, Lake George. I was there 2 summers. While when we already in Sarasota. Were you in Sarasota then? Sorry, in Saratoga, or
Saratoga?
In Saratoga. I work in Lake George Opera Festival, but when they had moved to Saratoga, so the performances were in Saratoga.
Yeah.
Did you also, were you in Saratoga or were you in Lake George?
That was way before. So Lake George Opera Festival at that time was in a high school auditorium. Okay. Also, Glimmerglass Opera began in an auditorium, a high school auditorium, before they built their theater. So I was in the beginning of all of that. And yeah, I mean, it had a fly space and wings and dressing room. Well, dressing rooms, they were classrooms. But yeah, I mean, they did some very good work there. Diana Silviero sang there. There were some really great artists that came through Lake George Opera Festival at that time.
Yeah, yeah, it was one of the oldest and more traditional with Marcella, starting with Marcella Sembridge at that point. So that goes back.
Yeah.
One of the first opera summer festivals in the country, and in that area, together with Chautauqua, which is all in that area, right? So fantastic. And so that was your first butterfly. And in how was doing butterfly?
So we were I was very, very fortunate. There was a man, a Japanese artist who was at the University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana, and he came to direct, Shozo Sato. And we did authentic kimonos. We built, with his instruction, we built our own wigs. We learned the real kabuki makeup where you put wax on your face first. We spent hours walking around learning how to move like a geisha with your little head and your little feet, and how to use the fan, how to use the sleeves. My first experience with butterfly built the texture of my performance throughout. It was always there. The seeds of that were always there. I always had that knowledge and instruction in every performance and production I did after that. Many times the director would depend on me to teach the chorus women how to move and what to do. It was an experience that I never, ever took for granted or forgot.
Wow.
It was good.
And you've done many butterflies.
Say again?
You have done many butterflies.
Many. Everybody wanted me for the part because at that time, I was 5 feet and 3/4 of an inch, tiny, and as you can see, even at age 72, I have kind of a little pixie face. So from a distance, I always looked 15. Mm. And it served, they had the voice. People always said, how did such a big voice come out of such a little girl? Well, I had the voice and I had the look. And I sang the 1904 version in Leeds, England. So yeah, everybody wanted me for Butterfly. And Susanna in The Marriage of Figaro, which is kind of interesting.
Quite different in terms of the amount of sound, although both of them very long shows.
Very long.
Very long shows. So how was your let's say, you said you've done it almost like 300 times, or I mean more than 300 times.
Many of those were on tour. So, you go months and performance. I did 2 tours for New York City Opera Butterfly. I also sang it in the house, and then the 1904 version 2 seasons in a row. So New York City Opera, a lot of performance for them, either on tour or in the house. The Leeds and Opera North Leeds England, that was also a touring company, so that was that many. So yeah, production after production after. I can't even tell you all the places that I sang it, because they would put me on a bus. I would arrive at 4:30. I would get into my room. I'd eat my dinner, and I'd go to the theater. They put my makeup on. I sang Butterfly. I didn't even know where I was.
Wow. How I was going to say, so you do these tours in the States and in Europe. How was your first European experience of at all? I mean, that was your first show in Europe?
Yes, that was my first show in Europe. Mm-hmm.
How was?
It was the company was lovely. I was there for many.
What is now Opera North?
Yeah, it's in central Leeds, England.
Yeah.
That's where. Yeah, the company was great. Wonderful production, great colleagues, conductor, and yeah, I enjoyed it very much. I was there a long time, and it was over winter, over Christmas actually too. I think the thing that was most shocking for me was, you're gonna laugh, their heating system. So, you know, I mean, we're so spoiled here. I remember the little place they put me up, I had to put coins in the meter to heat the apartment.
Wow.
It was so wild. And take the bus. I had to take the bus to the rehearsal hall. But it was a very nice experience. The 1904 version, that's another whole story. You know, people always want to do something new and that's never been done, and updating and all that. Well, there was a time everybody wanted to do the 1904 version, which is not as good. It does not have the dramatic impact. It is more lower voice for the butterfly. So some things are down an octave, actually. The one thing it did do, the 1904 version, expanded the characterizations of some of the minor characters, and also some of the relationships, like between Suzuki and Butterfly. Uncle Yakoside has a whole scene, you know. It fleshes out, as I said, some of the relationships and the characters, but I understand, after working on it and performing it, I understand why it wasn't a big hit when it was first produced. But the version we do now, oh my God, the impact dramatically is, I mean, it's a perfect piece. If you just do what's on the page, it's a perfect piece.
So
everybody's moved by Butterfly.
So, I'm telling to the audience what we're talking about is the 1904 is the original version, is how he premiered in Brescia, and then it was not as successful as Bohème and or Tosca, so he actually by Puccini standards by that time, it was not successful at all. And so he really worked it out. What I don't remember is when he presented a new version.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But it wasn't too long after that, and so he presented a shorter version, kind of. In fact, I'm not sure if he did it as a 2 acts or also already was a 3. Or it was a 3 act, because the common practice of putting second and third together, that they happen on the same evening in a way, at the same day. It is taxing for the butterfly, but it is better for everyone. But all other standards, the flow is better, the connection between 2 and 3 is fantastic, and so So again, that for is the original much longer. I actually never heard it. I never heard the original version. So I know they have done it, and so it will be interesting to see. I didn't know that also that it was lower. And is there any substantial more music for Butterfly in the original version?
No, but no. Actually, let me think now. I can't remember exactly, but the final aria had no impact. It didn't have the punch that it has in the version today. I can't remember about the second act aria, how different. I think that was kind of intact. But, I mean, for me, luckily I had enough middle voice that I could be heard over the orchestra. I can see how some sopranos might struggle with that version to really be heard. But I just felt dramatically like everything was kind of under a cloud in terms of the what one expects now emotionally from the music in that piece. So the one thing that it did do, didn't it add the tenor aria in his last aria was not in the original. So I think the tenors were happy.
So Adio Fiorito Asil was in the original?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's it. That's a sad miss. Yeah, that's a sad miss, because then it makes the tenor almost not. I mean, in the first act, but then we almost forget him, and we want that regret.
Less sympathetic makes. Yeah.
We want the regret, and it's a complicated story, but we want to hear his point of view, his approach to the story, right? So, have you, I'm curious, after doing it so many times, what do you remember about your first experience with Butterfly?
The very first time?
No, not. I mean, maybe yes, when you sang it, but your first experience with either the first time you saw it, or the first time you heard about it, or the first time you experienced it somehow.
Yeah, so I think the most vivid thing is when I was 24 and I was covering at Lake George Opera. I was a young artist and covering, and I mean the story, the idea of true love, complete loyalty and belief and hope, the hurt, and then the ultimate sacrifice. So the span of the emotion, I mean, what Puccini, the words said, and what how the music supported that arc of emotion that the butterfly experiences. It's just so, it just grabs you, it's like you can't forget, you can't let go the experience of not necessarily singing it, but seeing it, experiencing it, even if somebody else is doing it. That perfect, I mean, to me, it's like a perfect arch. I mean, the hope, the love, the sincerity, the belief, he's coming back, he'll return. And then realizing that that's not the truth, that he's forgotten her. Oh, that's what Sharpless says. I mean, that's what she's told. And then the complete heartbreak, because she stood against everyone, her family, her Goro, her friend now and servant Suzuki. I mean, she's the one who stands firm. You're all wrong and I'm right. And then she finds out that she was wrong.
Right.
And then the ultimate sacrifice for this boy, this son, this object of her love, to give up one's life for him. I mean, it's I don't know how anyone could see that and not be moved, and that just got me.
Right. Great. Good. Yeah, I remember the first time I saw it, it was actually the movie version that Conlon conducted with Troxwell, and I cannot remember who sang Butterfly, but this I somehow, I don't know why I thought I knew how it was going to end, but in any case, this belief of her, that this hope, and especially when she thinks that she was right, after when we see that the ship came back, and it's preemptively heartbreaking, break I don't know breaking, I don't know how to say that, but that you see that it's going, it's not going to happen, but she believes it, and that happiness, that joy of her wishes, of her trust, that she thinks are fulfilled, and even before what's going to happen, you feel like it's already so sad.
What's interesting about that moment that you're talking about, when she sees the boat in the harbor, and she says to Suzuki, he came, I told you. I have never done a performance where the audience didn't go nuts there. It's like they feel the joy with her, and of course the music supports it, right? Proprio, just at the point, proprio nel punto che ognuno diceva, just at the moment when everyone lost hope, I told you he came. And it's just, they go crazy. They applaud over the orchestra for like minutes.
Yeah.
Because they want it to be happy. The audience is with Butterfly there. They feel the joy that she feels. That's a big moment.
Yeah.
It's always a big moment.
It's gorgeous. And then the opposite, to me one of the saddest moment is her dialogue with Kate.
Well, yeah, before that is when she's running around looking for him, and then she sees this woman. That's the moment. It's like, who's that? Who is that woman? That's it. She says the words, she already knows. It stops her in her tracks. That's it. That's from that moment down.
It goes down.
Then it's all about the boy. Then it's all about, she knows from that moment that she has to give the son up. Why else would he be there? He came for his son, and already she's thinking beyond what's going to happen once I give him up. So yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's quite a beautiful piece. Have you sung? You said that you sang Mimi. Have you sung other Puccini's?
Yes, of course, both roles in Bohème, Liu, Suor Angelica. I did only a concert version of Suor Angelica, but oh my God, let's talk about another emotional piece. I mean, another one. It's the same, the boy, the baby, and the loss of that. That's another wonderful. I mean, he was such a master at that. Getting in there and twisting your heart.
He knows how to make you feel things, and
Yes.
he's dealing with great human emotions, and he knows how to empathize with them and connect. I think favorite operas, and Butterfly is just gorgeous. But in a way, I always say that Suor Angelica is my favorite. This is the prettiest. It's so pretty, and there's something about the relationship with the religious that is unusual in because in Puccini it's always people relationship. There's no tragic element. It's always drama, which is different. There's no relation to the supernatural in or the the gods like a tragedy will be, in which the fate is set, right? But in the relationship in Suor Angelica with the supernatural, the religious is so special. And when the miracle happened, I don't know. I did it last summer in Mexico, and every time I will get goosebumps of that big unison in E minor. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I did Tosca one time in Dayton, Ohio. You mentioned Tosca. I was the smallest Tosca ever. I had the voice for it, but not the glamour and the height for it. So, but it was a wonderful piece to perform. Great.
Yeah, interesting. Dayton. My partner Howard is from Dayton, so there's always a relationship to Dayton somehow. So.
Yeah.
Good. And yet it is the way that Puccini makes theater, music theater is just so beautiful. How was it your transition into directing and working from this other point of view?
Yeah. So later in my career, I think 1997 or 1998, excuse me, people began to ask me. The first thing I did was direct and perform Butterfly. Two times wow. I did. Yeah. So how is that going to work? So because I was, I could roll out of bed and sing Butterfly at that point. So I had a young artist that was right for Butterfly come and cover me and do all the rehearsals. And then dress rehearsal, I would step into the role. It was a trick. Because dress rehearsal, I need somebody in the theater, the lighting and the props and the this and the that, wanted to make sure that, from the perspective of the director, everything was okay. So then I had an assistant director and they would film it for me, and that's how it worked. But I really enjoyed that. It was hard. And from that, then people began to ask me to then just direct, which of course, much better. I started on that path. I think I did Traviata, Marriage of Figaro. I did an Aida with elephants and wildcats. Yeah, birds flying down from the balcony. And that was in Birmingham, Alabama.
With elephants?
Elephant. Yeah, Radames came in on an elephant. An elephant. Yeah.
How do you get an elephant in Birmingham?
They went to the zoo and they brought the elephant. We had animals on stage. It was amazing. They were out on the side of the theater in, campers and crates, and it was very interesting. I mean, doing that procession was the hardest thing, right? Coordinating the animals, and you couldn't have the elephant near the cat, and I think there was a snake, and then the birds. We had to have these birds of prey fly down from the balcony and then land on the arm of the trainer who was in the procession. It was good. It was fun. I had a great cast, and
what a spectacle, incredible.
Yeah, so that was really great. I mean, I enjoyed directing. The reason I didn't continue down that path was I was now, later in my 40s, and Steve was going to take this position. So I was married, to those who don't know, I was married to a singer. So we would I would be here, he would be there, we'd fly, I'd go visit him, I'd be gone for 3 weeks, I'd be gone for 5. It was a very difficult life. And directing, it might have been a shorter period of time that I was gone, but it was the same thing, right? So you fly to a city, you stay in a hotel, you're away from home. And now Steve was going to take a permanent position at the University of Michigan. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I just didn't, I felt like I needed something else. I was still singing. I was going to do my first Desdemona in Montreal, and I had other things scheduled, but I had an injury. I had an injury in my left shoulder, 2 tears in my rotator cuff, and I went to a doctor at the University of Michigan, and he said, you have to go and have therapy and la la la. And I said, oh no, I'm going to sing my first Desdemona in Montreal, and I'm leaving in January. He said, not if you ever want to move that arm. So I had to cancel that. Now I'm, in Ann Arbor, and it's the winter, and I don't know anyone. And I met this woman, another Italian American, and Stephen and I were looking for a house. And we were driving around the town, and she said to me, if you ever would like to get off the road and do something else, I think you'd make a great realtor. I said, what? I've been singing since I was 8. What? And I don't know. It just kind of all, this one door opens, another one closes, And I thought, okay, I'm stuck with this arm for 4 months. I can't do anything. I have to stay here. So I became a realtor. And I did that. I let the directing go. I let the singing go slowly. But I fulfilled the contracts that I had. And I became a very successful realtor in Ann Arbor, Michigan for 22 years. Wow. So that was chapter 2. And that's why I didn't do more. Like anything, you have to give it 100% if you want to be successful. So once I realized that I could help us have a secure retirement, I let the opera world go. And now I was in a new phase of my life. So that's what I did.
Well, obviously you enjoyed, it's not just, the financial security, but sure, you like the interaction, the people, the selling, the visiting, right?
Well, there are certain skills that I had that worked. For example, when I was directing, think about it this way. When I was directing, I was setting the stage and the proscenium, right? Well, it's the same thing when people walk in a house. When people walk in a house, you set the stage. So I was doing my own staging of furniture and things. I could write ad copy, so I had the language skills. I could communicate, and I could negotiate. How many times do we negotiate our own contracts in the music world, So I had these skills which I could then move from one career to another. And of course, if you can sing and do this, you can do anything. If you can be a successful singer, you have the brain to do anything you choose. So that was what I chose, and it worked for us, worked for me.
Fun, good. So then you were in your real estate hat, and until you retired recently.
Yeah, at the end of last year I did. Yeah.
Oh wow, very recently. And then why they moved to? Why specifically Sarasota?
So I actually sang here on one of the tours, New York City opera tour or whatever one I was on, and I liked Sarasota. It's a vacation destination, and we had friends that were here, and we came for a little trip for Steve's 60th birthday, and we looked around, and I thought, as a realtor, if I can find the right property, we should buy an investment property and rent it out. So that's what we did. That was 7 years ago, I think. And then with in mind that we eventually would retire here when it was time. So that's how it happened. It was something, opera brought me here to experience it first. And then, with a little bit of thought and a little bit of investment, this is where we wound up. It's beautiful here. It's hot now, but it's beautiful.
It is beautiful in Southwest Florida. Going back to the directing for a second, how was different to direct Butterfly than singing?
Well, so not all directors have the perspective of the performer, right?
Right.
So one of the things that I could bring, and hopefully will bring to our production, is the detail and the relationships. So this is something that you only know it's lacking when you're inside the body, the mind of a singer, right? So for example, you have performers that don't. If you have performers that don't think motivation or reaction, a lot of singers that don't have experience don't understand that a lot of acting is reacting. So in order to react in a language that you don't speak, you really have to know every single nuance and word that's being sung on the stage, even if it's somebody on the other side of the stage. And if it's something the character is supposed to overhear, there has to be some recognition and reaction to that in the character. So I think what I brought as a director was the perspective from the inside out, and not everybody has that. I think that I can add a lot of detail that has to be felt. I don't know if I'm explaining this exactly right, but especially with young singers or people who haven't done the role, I can make them think about those things. And then the texture of the performance beyond the singing, right, which is what you do, it adds so much texture and fiber and fabric to the performance. Well, you'll see. The other thing that I'm really looking forward to is the small theater that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be like acting for a movie because the audience can see everything. It's, not so far away. And every expression, every reaction, every tension of the body will be seen. So for me, that's wonderful. All those things that we're going to do will not be lost or only seen by the first 5 rows. It'll be seen by everybody. So it's going to be great.
It is. And now, of course, intimately Butterfly, but how do you connect with Pinkerton or Sharpless further away?
So, well, I've never sung those parts, that's true, but having performed with so many great tenors and baritones and mezzo-sopranos and having experienced the relationships, I mean, we develop it, right? So I speak to Sharpless the way I speak to the Butterfly. What do you think you're thinking when she says that? What is your feeling about taking this letter out of your pocket? How do you feel about her delaying your conversation because she's giving you tea? So I know the questions to ask to help the singer make the decision. See, the thing is, acting, there's no right or wrong choice. but you have to make a
Sure.
choice.
Yeah.
So I can get in the head of a tenor or a baritone or a mezzo, it doesn't matter. Or the baby, for example.
Right.
You know, sorrow. You know, I have to speak to the baby. This is what your mother is saying, and this is how you feel about it. And in this place, I want you to touch her face because she's so pretty, or whatever. You know, I have to have that trust and relationship with everybody that's on the stage, so that we can find their performance together.
To bring it sorrow, what was the most unusual approach to sorrow in any of the productions that you have done?
Unusual approach to sorrow?
Because obviously having a kid, it's always a little complicated, and especially if you want it to be 3 years old, which is probably not the case. But
I think our sorrow is 4 years old.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be pretty. I think it's going to be pretty close. So I think. Well, I will tell you the production that I was in that moved me the most, that I thought made the best choice, is when the child has been looking at this portrait of Pinkerton since he was a baby. So there's a portrait of Pinkerton there. And she probably says, this is your papa, you know, this is your father. He's going to come and take us back to America, whatever she's been telling him. When the baby sees Pinkerton at the end, when he comes on stage, I think he recognizes him as the person in the portrait. And I think he is not afraid. I think he goes right up to him, either lifting his arm or waving a little flag or giving him his boat or something. I think that we, as an audience, feel like this child is going to be taken care of. The relationship has already started between the father and the boy. You know, I like it that way. I mean, I would like us to do it that way. We'll see how it all works out. But to me, that's the most moving version of what sorrow does, Dolore does, that I've ever experienced in a production.
Right. Yeah, this seems to be very heartbreaking in a way. I know it's a little happy in that sense, but there's something very, very touching and sad about it. I don't know. And to see that relationship and the sacrifice that make that happen in a way, or the result of that relationship is that it's very, yeah, I can see that it's very touching. That's great.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Well, we're looking forward to have you in Savannah, and I look forward to doing this production together. And it's going to be really, really a momentous occasion. It's the first time Butterfly is being done in Savannah, and we are very happy that we will be at the Savannah Cultural Center. And you know, right now I'm in Japan.
Oh, you?
I'm in Japan. Yeah, here is almost midnight, and because I work here with the Tokyo International Vocal Arts Academy that I founded, so all many of the characters are coming from Japan. So it's going to be also a very special occasion for all of us. So we're all very excited.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Well, thank you so much, and everyone, thank you for joining us in these Voices of the Festival. I will see you in 2 weeks when we talk to, in fact, one of the Japanese characters, Taka Komagata, that is going to be playing Goro. He's going to be our next guest. Wow. All right. So we'll see you soon, and thank you, Maryanne, and I will see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay, sounds good. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.